All right, welcome to a new episode of Agents of College Football. I am Agent Orren with my buddy Danny. Danny, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a pretty, I don't know, ho-hum weekend. Uh,
Right?
yeah, I don't know. What do you think of the games? Just your
Man,
quick
there
take
were
of it.
it was like an up and down kind of weekend for me, It's like this championship weekend is kind of signifies, college football season is winding down, so I was so excited because we have championship games, but I was also down because it's like, oh, I know college football is about to come to an end pretty soon, and what is life going to be like without college football? But yeah, man, you're right. I mean, really good, weekend championship games. Although a couple of the games were very disappointing, but there was also some really good ones.
Yeah, yeah. I thought
Did
the Pac-12 and Big Ten were the most interesting, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Pac-12 game was pretty good, and I guess we'll go over them one by one. And since you brought up the Pac-12 championship game, I guess we can go ahead and start there. Did you get to watch any of this game?
yeah, I did. I watched the first half, and then I saw the highlights of the second half.
Okay.
It looks like Stanford and USC were like, it wasn't exactly a defensive struggle, but um, the offense were kind of like sputtering at times.
Right?
Sam, Dar-
Inconsistent. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
Sam
they weren't
Darnold
consistently good.
Yeah, Sam Darnold didn't make mistakes, but he didn't really put the game in his hands, I guess, until like
Yeah.
maybe late into the first quarter.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Bryce Love he was solid, but he wasn't, I guess, the Bryce Love that we've been expecting. I guess he kind of put the team on. I guess he had to shoulder all team on his back a bit.
Yeah, it's like if Bryce Love doesn't rush for over 200 yards, like, oh, Bryce Love has a down game.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like you said, he still did pretty solid. He rushed the ball 22 times for 125 yards and a touchdown. Those are pretty good stats, but like you said, I mean, it is kind of a down game, really, for him. He usually has a lot more than that, but you know how these games go. I mean, it's championship game. There's a lot on the line. It's kind of like a rivalry game. It's a really hard fought, battle. So sometimes players' stats aren't necessarily as good, but big time players show up in big time games. And like you said about Sam Darnold, he wasn't really off the charts. It doesn't seem, but if you look at his stat book, I mean, pretty good. He was 18 of 25,
yeah,
344 yards and three touchdowns. But like you said, the big thing, no picks, and that's kind of been his,
mo.
weakness
Yeah,
this year. Yeah, it was he turns the ball over,
yeah.
and
They went
good
over
job
that
for
a little
him.
bit in the commentating that he had only had two picks over the last maybe 5 games, 6 games.
Yeah, he's definitely done a lot better. And you know what freaked me out too is he's still only 20 years old.
Oh yeah,
And if he was to enter the draft, when he gets drafted, if he was to enter the draft, he'll be 20 years old. And to me, I really think Sam Darnold's going to stay another year. I really do. What do you think?
I'm
I
still
know he
unsure.
needs to, but I truly think he will also.
Yeah, I'm still unsure. I don't know. Maybe he feels like he has unfinished business. It depends. I don't know. I can see them getting better if he stays next season, instead of them being a national contender. I know
Yeah.
this season they had a couple of. I mean, that Notre Dame game was kind of the one that derailed their hopes of getting into the playoff. So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
even looking at them playing in this game, they just didn't look like a playoff team either. And that's that's saying a lot too in a year like we've had this year where there wasn't really that many dominant teams. I mean, I feel like a lot of the teams that are like in the top 15 could really beat anybody else in the top 15, on any given day
yeah,
versus like prior years, that number one and number two team is just like, okay, they're going to dominate everybody. So I don't know. Just watching USC, I just didn't see a playoff team. I don't think USC could beat, like an Alabama or a Clemson, or I don't even think they could beat Ohio State. And Ohio State was sitting on the fence right outside of five. They're a good team, but it's like you said. I mean, too inconsistent on offense. Also, it's like they'll be explosive one quarter and then kind of get shut down the next. And I know they've had a lot of injuries this year too. Um, I don't know if they're going to get healthier or not, waiting for the bowl games and whatnot, but they're not
Yeah,
a playoff team in my eyes, just from the eye test.
yeah. But who was really good in this game was Steve Carr. He was, I don't know, when I saw him
Yeah.
run, I mean, Ronald Jones gets all the attention. He's probably gonna be like a round two, round one pick, late round one. But Steve Carr, I don't know, he was just
Yeah,
running
he
a league
looked
over people.
yeah, he looked good. He looked
Yeah,
good. And what was just really cool in this game too is watching the two completely different styles of offense. I mean, you see Stanford, under center, uh, two tight end sets, offset, two tackles on one side, eight people on the line. I mean, power football,
yeah,
definitely more of a pro style offense for a traditional, pro style offense versus what USC runs. Such a huge difference. It was pretty cool to watch that game. It was a good game.
yeah, yeah. Stanford had a chance to because they scored a touchdown and then they were like knocking on the door on the fourth goal line, fourth and goal. But they decided to run it. I feel like
Yeah.
they should have just gone for a field goal and just tried their chances because it still had
Yep.
a couple of time left.
Yeah.
But
I was thinking the same thing right there too.
yeah, yeah. But I guess I don't know. Maybe they thought that USC was on fire and going to score again.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, so Stanford finishes the season with 3 losses now. No,
four
they came
losses.
into this game, yeah, 4 losses. They're a lot better than a 4 loss team, though. Best 4 loss team in the country, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, pretty good game. So USC pulls it off. They came into this season right with high hopes. I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh, USC is going to make the playoff." So I guess in a sense, from the hype that they had preseason, somebody might consider it a disappointing season, but I don't know, man. Only 2 losses, a conference champion. I know me as a fan, my team, if my team had that kind of season, I'd be really happy. So I don't think it's a disappointing year. I think USC had a pretty good season.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they have a chance to play, I guess, a pseudo playoff game. Kind of like
Right?
that was a wild card. Um,
Yeah.
and then what else? This is the first time that a Pac-12 South team has won the championship, so that's interesting. It's all been Oregon and Stanford and Washington
Oh,
since.
yeah. Yeah, right. Recently, as of the recent years, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So yeah, pretty good game. And I don't know what game you want to cover. I guess we can stay with the somewhat interesting games. Huh? We go to the Big Ten championship game.
yeah, the Big
That
Ten
one was, yeah,
late at
Big
night,
Ten. So yeah, man, we had the
Wisconsin, and
ranking I'm going to give right now isn't the current ranking. This is the ranking that the teams had going into the game. So we had Wisconsin was ranked number 4, so they would have made it into the playoff, having that rank. And Ohio State was ranked number 8. Final score was 27-21. Ohio State pulling off the victory.
yeah, yeah, this game was. I don't know. I mean, the defense was really good. You could see that they were definitely getting to the quarterbacks, but there were some really ugly overthrows from JT Barrett. I mean, he's coming off knee surgery, but
Yeah, and Hornibrook too. They not
yeah,
very good quarterback play in this game. I mean,
yeah, his tight end from
it's
Magali. I think I told you like while I was watching the game that he was just catching a lot of balls like with his fingertips.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against left-handed people, but it's just so awkward to see him throw.
And I'm a lefty too, so I'm a
Yeah,
left-handed thrower also. And I'm looking right here too. It's like, man, Hornibrook stats: 19 of 40, only 229 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Not a very good game. And even JT Barrett with as much experience he has, I saw them at times just make really bad decisions. They'd be out to kind of scramble, and they would run out of bounds for a loss of yards instead of just throwing it out of bounds, you know, and
yeah,
you keep your line of scrimmage, the same, your yardage, for your down and everything. And I don't know. I just saw them make some really bad throws and some bad decisions, and I don't know, just not very good quarterback play either. I mean, JT Barrett, I mean, he was 12 of 26 for 211. He had 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 picks too. And I'm
on pick
surprised he
six.
ran yeah, that pick six. Yeah, I'm surprised he ran the ball as much too. He ran 19 rushes for 60 yards.
Yeah, coming off knee surgery, that's I mean, that's actually pretty impressive.
Yes,
Yeah, because no one just
definitely.
like gets out of surgery and then just gets right back to work. I mean, knee surgery, that is.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I thought Ohio State, would win this game. I definitely thought Wisconsin could win the game also. But Ohio State's defense looked pretty good in this game, to be honest with you. What really hurt Wisconsin was rushing. Taylor, really great running back. He only had 41 yards in this game, off 15 rushes. So credit to Ohio State's defense for shutting that running game down.
Yeah,
Their defense looked pretty solid, really good.
yeah,
Definitely better than Wisconsin's defense in this game.
yeah. 1,400 point per throw was. I mean, that's just the best game plan ever because he doesn't really have that strong of an arm.
Yeah,
So he'll like telegraph passes. I mean, telegram passes. And then,
yeah, right.
yeah. So, but, credit to what's his name, the head coach Chris for,
Yeah,
just being within a touchdown of beating Ohio
he
State.
won. He won the Big Ten Coach of the Year, I think.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so he's a good coach, and man, Wisconsin for the past 7, 8 years has been pretty good every year. I mean, you know that's a good team to be a fan of, that's for sure. They've
yeah,
been consistently pretty good. They put out NFL talent. Um, Now, do you think if Wisconsin would have won this game, just flip it. Let's say Wisconsin didn't even beat the heck out of Ohio State. Let's say Wisconsin won 27-21. Do you think Wisconsin would have gotten the playoff?
yeah, yeah,
Right?
undefeated
I mean, they
team.
were they were ranked four, right? They were ranked four already coming into this game, and with them having a win over a ranked team, I don't see why they would drop a spot over a team that didn't play that weekend in Alabama.
Yeah, yeah, it was all in just the play calling. I mean, they're honestly, they're just one quarterback away from winning this game.
Oh, I know, I
Yeah,
know.
I
Just
mean,
imagine if Wisconsin had just a little bit better quarterback play.
yeah, they have like I mean, just throw out Zach Smith out there because he has a good arm and
Yes.
slightly accurate. Uh, yeah, they had someone like him, or I don't know who else you could throw out there. They
Or if a
should,
Jarrett Stidham would have transferred to Wisconsin instead of going to Auburn.
yeah. So
Imagine if
hopefully,
they had a guy like that.
yeah, because I don't know. And this is also like in their past seasons since Russell Wilson. Really, they haven't really had that good of quarterback play. They have good running game, but never.
Yep. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. You're right. So yeah, I mean that was a close game. Ohio State pulls off the victory. So let's see what game you want to go to next. You want to go over to the Big 12
SEC.
championship game?
Oh yeah, Big 12. So I got a chance to see this game, and I mean TCU's first I think play was just a fumble going the other way.
Yep. And
And
it put
then,
Oklahoma up quick,
yeah, that puts
and
Oklahoma
that
up
hurt.
10-0. And then, so I think going in, like, it was like 24-17, I think, at the half. Yeah. So they were still, like, within striking distance of, uh, tying it up. But, after that, they were just shut out. And Oklahoma wins 41-17, which is way
Yeah.
better than they won the first time around. I think it was like their day 20. And I don't know, it was just Baker Mayfield just imposing his will on TCU. I mean, they had a pretty good job defensively because they only allowed a touchdown and a couple of field goals, I think.
Yeah. You're talking about Oklahoma's defense?
TCU's defense,
Oh, okay.
or two touchdowns, a couple of field goals. I'm not too sure,
Yeah.
but and then uh, but Oklahoma's defense has been like really suspect, has been pretty good at locking up TCU. So
Yeah.
yeah, average defense and elite offense just really sounds really good
Yeah.
for them going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's, before in the past, I would think, oh, here's a team that didn't play defense, a Big 12 team that can play offense. Going into the playoff, they're going to get beat by an SEC team, physical defenses, but this is different. This isn't a spread, high scoring offense with a pocket type passer. You know what I mean? It's Baker Mayfield. It's completely different than what Oklahoma's ever had. Um, I think Oklahoma, man, nobody wants to play Oklahoma in the playoff. Um, and what's really impressive too is that Oklahoma beats TCU twice this season.
Yeah,
And didn't just come into this game and win. They dominated TCU. And, Oklahoma's defense showed up in this game. I mean, we can criticize the defense all we want, and I've criticized them this season too, but in the big, big, big games, their defense has showed up. Against Oklahoma, their defense played pretty well. In this game against TCU, they played pretty well. It just seems like, I think we've talked about this before on this show, that, can Oklahoma rise to the occasion? Can they um, not play down to smaller opponents and play up against bigger opponents? I think now that they're up against big opponents and everything's on the line, I think we'll see this defense play better. It's not from lack of talent, that's for sure. They have talent on that defense.
yeah, and you,
I'd imagine that the defense is going to play pretty well in the playoffs.
yeah. I think this defense, like Georgia and any other, and Alabama and Clemson, they can score 21 points on them, but this offense is good enough to score 28 on any defense.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you know what Bob Stoops' nickname was? Like for the past, I
What?
guess, couple of years?
What?
It was Big Game Bob because, I mean, given the Baylor games and, the past other, I guess the past other big games that he's had, I guess even against Clemson the past 2 years, or the past 3 years that we've seen them play, it seems like, I don't know, like he's just sleepwalking into the game.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know, this is a really good start for Lincoln Riley. Because it seems like Bob's just left everything in place, and Lincoln Riley's just figuring things out as it goes, but he's figuring it out really fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good for the future of the program that they're already playing for a national title in their first year with a new head coach.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, and this is, the second time in the playoff era that they're in the playoff as well. This is what, the fourth year of the playoff, right?
yeah, yep,
14, 15, four. And so 2 out of the 4 years, Oklahoma's in it. Granted, last time they got beat up pretty good, when they made the playoff, but I think this is a better team that they have this year. So, kudos to them for making it 2 out of the 4 years into the playoff. Definitely a successful year for Lincoln Riley.
yeah,
So, and then, like you said, Baker Mayfield, what surprised me too is he only completed 14 passes. He only had 23 passes in this game for 243 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. And that's what I see a lot in his stat line. It's like whenever, his games are over, he only throws the ball maybe 23 to 28 times a game. It's not like traditional, Oklahoma a couple years ago where they're going to throw it 45, 50 times a game. They're throwing the ball, 23 to 28 times. And I think a lot of that has to do with Baker Mayfield and his running ability, right? I mean, he can move the chains, convert on third downs and stuff like that with his legs. So I think that kind of helps keep his passing attempts down.
yeah. And it's also how well he goes through his progressions. I mean, that offensive line gives him a lot of time
Yep.
to just, yeah,
That
he-
line is good, and that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. That's another thing that is good about them too, is that when you go up against these SEC teams, you're going up against potential NFL defensive linemen on every SEC team. Um, so you have to have some NFL caliber players on your offensive line, and I think this offensive line that Oklahoma has is the best offensive line they've had, here in recent years.
yeah.
Um,
The left tackle
so,
is Orlando Brown.
oh man,
Yeah,
he's a monster.
yeah. His dad
Just
was an NFL player for a couple of years, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he had that injury by a like a late flag or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he can play.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, Kenny Hill even had a pretty decent game, 27 to 37, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, he did one pick, but he didn't have too bad of a game either. But
Yeah, I was
TCU just couldn't pull it off, man. Shut down in the second half.
yeah, I was rewatching this game and he had a lot of good drives, but then some were just like taken away by holding calls or false starts.
Yes.
So yeah, they got to clean with those penalties, especially in
Yeah.
big games like this.
Right. It just goes to show you, right? It's not all about talent and having the ability. I mean, you have to execute. Penalties killed them and turnover, and they'd get in the red zone and just couldn't finish. So,
Yeah, I
yeah, I
mean,
mean, pretty disappointing for sure. And I picked TCU to win. I just had a hunch, but I don't know. This Oklahoma team's for real.
Yeah, exactly. Then, did you happen to see in the Big Ten championship when that turf guy came out?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that was a good
I'd
15.
never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, yeah, it was just it was interesting just how they were going over, how he puts the pellets back in, how he brings out the pellets, the that bucket of pellets, and and then
Yeah, it's
uh and then someone, I think the subreddit for college football, he tweeted at Dr. Trevor too, like why don't they give him the tuition prize?
yeah, I know, right?
And then
Hundred
Dr.
thousand.
Yeah, and then Dr. Trevor responded like, oh, we're thinking of something from something like that.
That's funny.
Yeah,
What surprised me is like, man, they just have a bucket of rubber pellets, sitting around. Like, is this something that they actually prepare for? Yeah, that's what I was wondering because I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, obviously they do prepare for stuff like this. They were ready to get the problem fixed. So
yeah, yeah. It would have been cool. It's like just see how, because like a lot of stadiums they come in like they already have these prepared. I think Arizona had them prepared already, and then they just like drive in the stadium, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just cool to see like a little bit of what goes on behind the scenes.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
and then do you want to go over the ACC or the SEC next?
Yeah, let's do the ACC.
Yeah, that one. I mean,
Bummer.
I think I gave you my prediction that I thought it was gonna be like within a touchdown because I
Yeah,
thought because Miami really this is their first time playing for a championship in a long time, and
yeah,
yeah, and so I thought they would like because they know that this is a once maybe not once in a lifetime but once in a while um, privilege to play for this, and their wide receiver gets hurt over practice, and then they lose one of their defensive talents. They have one of the linebackers, I think, but overall it wasn't like I think Clemson went up 21-0 at the end of the half,
hmm,
and then it was all Clemson from there. Just yeah,
yeah,
I mean, pretty much, pretty much Clemson's game plan all this time has been, just stop the run, crowd up the offensive line with just like three rushers. It's usually Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, right, and Clelin Ferrell that are like rushing
hmm,
in and trying to
hmm.
get in. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
and
it's I mean,
yeah,
just a dominating performance. And I'd even talked about this on our last show that last year it seemed like Clemson, I don't know if they were saving plays or what, but they just didn't really look explosive. Everybody was like, oh, they're good on defense, but their offense is just inconsistent. They're not very explosive. And then all of a sudden it comes championship weekend and playoffs, and they just light it up. And that is exactly what happened in this game. I mean, Clemson came out to play, they dominated, and what's scary is in the this is their third year making the playoff, and this is the best defense they've had, I think, um, in the past 3 years of all the playoff teams they've had. I think this is the best defense that they've had, and I think they're playing offense just as good as they have before. So, I mean, this could be the best Clemson team. I mean, potentially that Clemson's had in the past few years. And it's like you said, Clemson shut down the run and forced Rozier to throw the ball. And I think I even said it in our last show too that Rozier, he's not going to go out and win a game for you. He can't put a team on his back and go out there and win a game for you. He needs a running game and a good defense. He's not a very good thrower. And I think that showed up big time in this game. He was 14 of 29 for only 110 yards, no touchdowns, and two picks.
yeah. I think Kelly Bryant, on the other hand, we haven't seen him really. I mean, we've seen him throw, but it's been against like lesser talent.
Yeah,
And then in this game, I mean, he looked Deshaun Watson like kind of.
right. I mean, he was 23 of 29 for 252 yards
Yeah,
and one touchdown, no picks.
yeah,
So, you know, just efficient, very efficient in this game and
yeah.
consistent. So,
Did you see that
I
pass
mean,
he threw to the Clemson bench? I think it was Dexter Lawrence or Christian.
yeah,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
he just caught it with like one hand, just
Yep.
snatched it out. Yeah, it was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, just so disappointed. And for Miami to play this bad back-to-back weeks, you know? I mean, they played very poorly, the weekend before against Pitt, and then come out in this game and just play flat. And I don't know, what a disappointing way to end the season, to play so good all year long. Everybody's the U is back, the U is back, the U is back, and then to have two back-to-back games this bad. Oh man, I feel bad for the Miami fans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all they really need is a quarterback, a couple of linemen to really stop, those edge rushers.
Yeah.
And because they already have the talent at wide receiver and even tight end coming out almost every few years. Who do we see? We had David Njoku,
Yeah.
and then we had a couple of Miami wide receivers over the years that come out.
And right now, Miami has the number one ranked recruiting class too. So, they've got a lot of talent coming in too. So, and Mark Richt's a good coach. Um,
Yeah,
he
he
just,
got the
he
Coach of
just,
the Year award.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a good coach. So, Miami fans shouldn't be down. I mean, I'm sure right now they're disappointed. They're upset. They're probably even mad. But once the dust settles and they kind of look back on this year, they're going to be happy. They got the wins that they have and the season that they had. The number one recruiting class coming in. So the future is definitely very bright for Miami.
Yeah, exactly. And do you want to go into the SEC championship next?
Yes, the final big time championship game. Man, what a shocker. I thought Georgia would probably win this game, because like I said in the last show, that it's hard to beat the same team twice. Really hard. I just did not expect a 28-7 game. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I guess. I mean, what was it once kind of a team just embarrass you on TV? You don't want that to happen again. So they really game plan for that. And I mean, because I mean Auburn, they had seen Georgia's cup, they had seen Georgia's film already, but they don't know
Hmm.
what Georgia's going to do once you expose Georgia, really, right?
Yeah,
So you don't know what they're going to tweak around, what they're going to switch around. Um, and then you got Kerry Johnson hurt as well. He's not playing at 100%.
yeah,
And yeah, it was 10-7 at half, but then and it was actually close in the fourth quarter as well.
yeah. It was a close game. The whole game it was, and there towards the end of the game, Georgia just ran away with it. And I was surprised at just how bad Auburn played on offense. And honestly, I credit more the Georgia defense. I mean, Georgia was just ready. Everything Auburn threw at them, they were prepared for. You know, all the misdirection stuff they had, all the screens and, the weird blocking schemes and zone blocking schemes that they run. Georgia was ready for all of it. Um, I don't think it was necessarily. It's more credit to Georgia shutting Auburn down than it was Auburn, playing very poorly. That's what I saw.
Yeah, yeah, that guy Raekwon Smith. I mean, he was like all over the field, just coming at Kerry
Oh
Johnson.
man, yes, yeah, beast of a game. And Stidham only completing 50% of his passes. He was 16 to 32, 145 yards and one touchdown.
Yeah,
Kerryon Johnson only had 13 carries for 44 yards, and Auburn only scored seven. Disappointing. That this gives them three losses in the season, but they had a heck of a season still. Beating two number one teams during the regular season. Um, you know, they played Clemson,
yeah,
right?
Clemson. Yeah,
Yeah, they played Clemson. Had a good game against them, so um, very good season for Auburn. And it looks like Gus Malzahn's going to be back. I think he got a contract extension already,
yeah,
right?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
So Georgia, man, they're going to be tough to beat in the playoff, um, for sure, man. And so they're going to be playing Oklahoma in the playoff game. That's going to be a really good game.
yeah. And what's interesting about Georgia is that I mean they have three really good running backs. I mean they have two good running backs, Lee Michelle and Nick Chubb, and then
Hmm.
that guy DeAndre Swift. I mean, he can run down the field as well.
Yeah, and Fromm is a true freshman.
Yeah,
To play as good as he has as a true freshman, that is so impressive. And with all the talent they have there already and all the talent they have coming in, and Fromm is still just a freshman, he's got 2 more years after this, and Georgia's going to be scary.
yeah, yeah. And like even if and they have a good backup behind from right now. That's Jacob Eason.
Yeah, Beeson, I mean, he was, highly recruited, five-star quarterback, one of the most sought after quarterbacks in the nation. So pretty good backup. What do you think will happen to him? Do you think he'll try to transfer or?
I mean, Mark Richt recruited him, so people think that he's going to Miami.
Ah,
Yeah.
that would
So
make a lot of sense.
yeah, personally, if I was him, I would go to Wisconsin.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what I would do too, man. If he went to Wisconsin, that would help that team out a lot.
yeah, yeah, but people don't really know what's people don't really have like a surefire thing of what's going to happen to him. Um, but yeah, Jake Fromm, he's really good for a freshman.
Really good.
Yeah.
So that wraps it up. I mean, for the SEC and
Well, there's another
wraps
game.
it up for championship weekend.
Well, there's another championship game that we. I don't think any of us saw. I saw the highlights of it. That was the UCF Memphis game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw part of this game. My bad. I miss spoke there. I was meaning of the Power Five
Oh yeah,
stuff. But yeah, we had a couple. We had the American Championship game, and then Conference USA and Mountain West
yeah.
had their championship game. So yeah, I mean, we both said it right in the last show. If you want to see high scoring and lots of yards and lots of offense, this is definitely the game that you're going to want to watch.
This one went into double overtime. Uh, Anytime you get an overtime game, that's like the best thing ever. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Yeah, but double overtime is just double and triple are just the hardest things to come by.
yeah,
Yeah, and it ended on an interception, but yeah, they were just like exchanging touchdowns all day.
yeah.
Yeah,
Both really good teams. So I'm looking here at the stats. So UCF 493 passing yards versus Memphis 438 passing yards. UCF 232 rushing yards versus Memphis 282 rushing yards. So anyway, total yards 725 total for UCF, 720 total for Memphis on offense. I mean, it was just neck and neck as far as offense
yeah,
goes.
that's almost as much as the Oklahoma Texas Tech game last year, right?
Oklahoma, Texas. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, that's
So,
great.
I mean, wow, you look at it, 725 yards of offense, that's more than what a lot of these Big Ten or Power Five schools did. Both teams together, UCF alone had more yards of offense. So
Yeah, and then we also
very
had
fun game to watch.
yeah, it was. And then in the middle of it, Scott Frost was announced that he's going to be the head coach at Nebraska,
Yep.
but he's still coaching them through their championship game and through their bowl game.
Okay,
So
so that's still going to happen then, right? I mean, I know he
yeah,
said he wanted to, but I didn't know if he actually was going to do it.
yeah. I guess that's a nice.
Okay.
I guess that's a nice gesture. It looks like he's going out of there like unlike I guess a couple of other coaches we've seen like was the one from Western Michigan row the boat.
Yeah.
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 Uh, but yeah, it looks like he's getting out of there well liked, and then going on to Nebraska, his hometown.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't blame him for that one. So, and next we had we had a Texas team in it when the Conference USA. We had North Texas playing FAU, and I think me and you both picked FAU to win this game. We felt like they had more talent than UNT and had a final score of 41-17.
Yeah, I actually picked UNT for good luck, but I knew FAU was going to win.
Yeah, I think we both knew that this was going to happen. They just had more talent. I mean,
They have
man, FAU looked pretty good.
they have the last chance two players, right?
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
John Franklin and DeAndre Johnson. I don't think DeAndre
yeah.
Johnson is playing.
Franklin had a touchdown in this game, the ex-Auburn quarterback.
Wait, was he the one that threw the ball out when he was going to run
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, one touchdown. So, I mean, 346 passing yards, 281 rushing yards, and Devin Singletary, 26 rushes for 164 and 3 touchdowns. So heck of a game by him.
Yeah, that's their running back for
Yeah.
UNT.
Yep.
Okay.
No, for FAU.
Oh, for FAU.
Yeah. So the problem with UNT in this game too was that they couldn't run the ball. I mean,
Hmm.
they didn't have any yards rushing. They couldn't run the ball in FAU, and that's what really hurt them in this game and forced them to try to throw the ball more. They ended up throwing 2 picks, in this game, and that didn't help them either. So tough loss by UNT, but congratulations making it into the championship game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean they're only going to get better from here. You'd
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah,
And
and then we
and
had
it looks
Boise
like
State and
oh, I mean
you what?
I'm saying it looks like they might keep their head coach for another year because it looks like a lot of coaching decisions already made. So that's also good
Right?
for them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely is very good for them. You're right.
And then we had a rematch from rival week onto the next week. That was Fresno State and Boise State, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they had played.
Fresno State came into this game ranked number 25,
Yeah, they
so
had
they
played
came in
both.
ranked.
They had played just week before, and they had won that one decisively, I think.
Yeah.
And then Boise wins this one that actually matters.
Yep. Boise State wins it 17-14. So congratulations to Boise State pulling off the win and finishing the season as champions.
It always
So that
feels
pretty
like,
much wraps it up, right?
yeah,
When it comes to championship games.
yeah, I think so. I mean, you also had Florida State getting bowl eligible, but
Right?
on like the day of some bad news for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bad news.
yeah.
But
So,
I guess that can kind of help us go into our next topic. You want to talk about um, some of the coaching changes that happened, or
well, first I want to get into the playoffs real quick.
oh, the rankings,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, for
So
sure.
your playoff teams are Clemson. They'll be facing off against 4 seed, which is, and I don't think this one comes as a surprise to anyone, but people are very mixed on this one. But Alabama goes in number 4. They didn't
Yeah,
play, yeah, they didn't play over the weekend, but and then it's Georgia versus Oklahoma in the Rose
yeah,
Bowl. Yeah, and on the outside looking in are just Wisconsin and Ohio State.
yeah. And I don't know. What do you think? I mean, do you think Alabama deserved to get in over Ohio State?
I think just based on what you saw out of Ohio State, I don't think they should have been in there because I think Clemson is just a way better defense than Wisconsin, and we already saw what happened last season with not the same roster, but with JT Barrett under center.
Yeah,
So I think the committee just didn't want to have a repeat of that. They would rather have,
yeah.
yeah, they would rather have part 3 of Clemson versus Alabama.
So do you think that, and I know they're not supposed to, and I know they say they don't, but do you think the college football committee, kind of does look on history a little bit, like base their decisions off maybe what happened in previous seasons? Do you think that they do that? I mean, it's only human, right? I mean, I would think that they would.
Yeah,
Maybe not intentionally, but unintentionally, I think they do.
they say they don't. I mean, I'm sure if Ohio State has only one loss, I think they do get in.
Oh
Or
yeah, if they didn't have that 30-point loss to Iowa,
yeah,
they'd be in for sure.
yeah,
So, I mean, it even makes sense if you look at the rankings the week before. I mean, Alabama was at 5, right outside of it, and number 4 loses, so it makes sense for them to go up one spot. So, I mean, I've heard some others, try to make such a big deal about this that there's a conspiracy and a controversy and that the college football playoff committee are liars. And, I'm like, whoa, I think that's a little overkill. I mean, Ohio State lost by 30 points to Iowa, and I know Alabama's schedule wasn't all that great. And Ohio State probably did play in some harder games, but um, I think maybe if they would have even just lost that game to Iowa by a point, maybe, if it's just like some type of upset, but for them to get beat as bad as they got beat, that's what hurt them for sure.
yeah, yeah. And Alabama hasn't really impressed anyone either. I mean, they've had typical Alabama wins, like the 9-0 on Vanderbilt,
Yeah.
but I don't know, they're Alabama, because Nick Saban, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
but at the
And
same
not only
time,
that, but they've been banged up too. They have a lot of injuries, and I think the playoff probably thought too,
let them heal
with
up.
them having a month off, they're going to get healthy,
Yeah,
so they're going to be a lot better of a team. They're going to have their team back. So they
yeah,
probably thought about that as well.
yeah, I guess so. But you haven't really seen because I mean, because the last few seasons we've had what's the name, the Marlon Humphrey, Reuben Foster, Jonathan Allen. Those were like your three main guys on defense the past
Yeah.
years, and those guys were, I mean, they would take over the game. Ashawn
Yeah.
Robinson as well. It was amazing for what he did, just like
Yeah.
stopping the run. And the season, I mean, they've been good, but I don't know. I guess you kind of feel like you've been expecting more, but
Mhm.
I don't know. They've been. I, I guess they just haven't been Alabama because we haven't seen them play against, I guess, that good competition because the
Yeah.
schedule isn't even that good either.
Yeah.
But so maybe they are holding something back. So who knows?
We'll see. I don't know. I just don't. I think Clemson's gonna win against Alabama, man. I just do, and we'll have a separate episode, where we'll talk more about it and get more in depth about it. But just real quickly here, I think Clemson's defense, like I said, is even better than before.
Yeah,
And like I've even said in previous shows, I think if you shut down Alabama's run game and contain Jalen Hurts from running the ball, I think you'll beat Alabama. And I think Clemson has everything they need to do to execute that recipe.
yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, Kelly Bryant even shows up half as good as what he did against Miami, then yeah, they have everything they need to at least keep
yeah.
it close, at least.
So yeah, that wraps up, our top six. Clemson at one, Oklahoma at two, Georgia at three, Alabama at four, and then sitting right outside the two Big Ten teams, Ohio State University and the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah. And then we also had, I mean, just outside in the top 10, you had Penn State, USC. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
just seeing how, I don't know, those are two, I guess, two teams that we thought we'd be in at the beginning of the season, but they had some like minor hiccups that really cost them.
Yep. They
So
really cost them. Yeah. I mean, Penn State was ranked two at one point, I think,
yeah, they
so
were.
they just had some disappointing losses. So yeah. Still good seasons by those teams though. Still a good season.
Yeah. Do you want to go over the other bowls that we have? That we've the big ones?
The bowl games?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to announce the bowl games? So Um, Oklahoma and Georgia, they're going to play in the semifinal, the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Um, wow, a Big 12 team and an SEC team. It's usually a Big 10 team and like a Pac-12 team that play in the Rose Bowl. And then in the Sugar Bowl, we got Clemson and Alabama. So those are the semifinals. And then right outside of that, some of the big bowls like our Peach Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Orange, and Cotton Bowl. Ohio State is going to play USC December 29th at the Cotton Bowl. Man, that is going to be a good one to watch.
Yeah, you're going to see Sam Darnold against pretty good defense. So, I mean, just draft prospect wise, that would be a really good one to see.
Yeah. And a lot of these bowl games we're going to talk about are going to feel like a playoff game. They're big games because this is the year, like we've even said before, that there's not really that many dominating teams. You know, when you get to like 3 to 10, the teams are kind of close. So, Ohio State and USC, these are two teams that people thought could be considered to get that fourth spot. So man, really excited about that game.
Yeah. Then in the Peach Bowl, we have Auburn and UCF. And this one, I think if we had like a kind of like the NFL type of playoff, I think we would see this one being considered
Yeah,
because UCF has had a good year and they have something on offense that they can work with.
yeah,
And Auburn, they're just a really good defense overall. So I want to see just, I mean, if UCF can score 28 points on against them, that just proves that they're just as good as everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's going to be a good game too. And then we had the Fiesta Bowl. We got Penn State playing Washington.
Yeah, I would have loved to see this one go to Stanford, just because it would be cool to see Bryce Love versus Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
but
would have been really good. Yeah, I would have rather have had that one too. It's like Penn State and Washington, kind of the teams that people thought could win their conference and just had those two, disappointing losses, right? I don't
yeah,
know. Kind of reminds me of each other, Penn State and Washington do for some reason.
yeah, and and I don't know. I think this one is like a strength versus weakness kind of game also because Penn State doesn't have a really good O-line. I have an okay O-line, but Benavidez and the rest of the Washington defense are just insanely good at just going with whatever the offense gives you and
Yeah,
trying to come up with a way to stop it.
yeah. Definitely an exciting game there. And then we have the Orange Bowl, Wisconsin playing Miami. That'll be an interesting game,
I mean, that's strength on strength. That's good defense against good defense.
right?
Good running back means good running back.
Yeah. Not
And
very, very great quarterback play
yeah, I mean,
from both of these
I left that one
recently.
out for everyone to, just come to that conclusion.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah,
then we have some other bowl games. I
the
mean,
Alamo Bowl
there's
is always good.
the what?
The Alamo Bowl is always good.
Yeah,
That's
Alamo
Stanford
Bowl.
TCU.
That's going to be a good one.
Traditional versus spread. So
Yep, two completely different styles of football teams.
yeah, and then you have your own team, Texas versus Missouri, an old Big 12 foe.
Yes, my Longhorns haven't played in a bowl game in a couple of years, so man, it's kind of sad for me to be happy about winning 6 games, but shoot, man, we haven't been in a bowl game in a couple of years, and kind of cool to play Missouri. A team that used to be in the Big 12, moved over to the SEC. We actually have a couple of players from the Longhorns that transferred to Missouri recently. Defensive lineman that we had transferred over there to Missouri. And I'm anxious to see Locke play, the quarterback from Missouri. I mean, he's a good quarterback, man. He can sling it. He was a 5-star kid coming out of high school, highly recruited. He's from the state of Missouri, so he stayed in state. Just not on a very good football team. And Texas, we're gonna have a few players sitting out. Um,
For the
Deshaun
draft.
Elliott declared for the draft, so he's not going to play in the bowl game. Connor Williams declared for the draft, not going to play in the bowl game. Holton Hill suspended for the season anyway, so even if he wasn't going to the NFL, we wouldn't have him in this game. Malik Jefferson's still not set in stone yet. He still hasn't officially announced if he's going to the NFL, if he's going to sit out the bowl, or what he's going to do. So, um, maybe there's a chance he could play there, but probably not. The thing is that we're getting healthy. We're going to get PJ Locke, who is our nickel corner, captain of our defense. He's healthy. He'll be back. Our offensive line's getting healthy. We're going to have Elijah Rodriguez, who was the starting tackle to begin the season but got hurt. We're going to have him for this game. Patrick Vahe, our starting left guard, who was injured. We'll probably have him back for this game. So we're losing a couple of key players, but it looks like we're going to gain a couple of key players for this game as well. And man, just to kind of go into the off season with a lot of momentum, Texas really needs to pull this one off. Um, Texas needs a good win to help them with recruiting and just help gain some momentum going into the next season.
Yeah, just from your prediction right now, what do you think will happen?
Man, it's just bowl games are so weird, right? I
Yeah,
mean, for one, you have players that don't play, or you have players that go to the draft. Some teams just, it's a bowl game. I don't want to show up. But I think Texas has a lot to play for. They're going to be in state. They're going to be at home, pretty much. So I think Texas will be able to pull this one off. I really do. Missouri, they're kind of on a win streak, right? Here to
yeah,
finish off their season. They
yep.
started off really poor, but got better as the season went on. It is an SEC team, but I think Texas has a lot to play for. I think Texas will be able to pull this one off.
Interesting. And then the Birmingham Bowl, just throw out another Texas team out there, Texas Tech. They might finally get they finally have a chance to get another win against, or to finally get a win against Charlie Strong in
Yeah,
South Florida.
yeah, yeah. Another win against Charlie Strong.
But this one should be good
So yeah,
because it's good offense good against good offense.
yeah,
So
yeah. It'll be a good game for sure.
yeah,
So Notre Dame and LSU playing in a game also.
I feel like they
The
always play.
Citrus Bowl.
I feel like
That'll
they
be a
always
good one.
feel like they're always playing a bowl game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that one would be really cool to see. This is Danny Etling's last game, so I wonder
Hmm.
if they might. Who's the freshman or sophomore they have under center under as a second string? I don't know. I think it would be cool if we see him a little bit,
Yeah.
and then Notre Dame, they can kind of I guess redeem themselves a little bit for their fan
Yeah.
base.
Finish off the season strong.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
hopefully Brandon Wilburs puts some things together. I mean, this is probably the closest thing to an NFL defense we'll see. So
Yes.
yeah, so just
Good test.
whatever he does, he can build on his mistakes for next season. Probably come back better.
Yeah. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up as far as key bowl games that are going to be coming up. So we'll do another episode,
Yeah,
right, Danny? And
yeah,
we'll get more in depth in a lot of these games when we get closer to bowl season. I'm so pumped. Like when the bowl games come, oh man, I take, I have time off from work. It's Christmas time, the holidays are here. Lots of good college football games on. Oh man, it's just one of the best time. It is the best week time of the year. Not even close in my book.
yeah, yeah. Bowl
Except for
games
the
are.
beginning of college football season.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's that's second place.
yeah. The end, the beginning. Those are the best times.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess, we had a lot of since our last episode, we had a lot more happen as far as coaching changes. Had some coaches move schools, so that created some openings.
Yeah,
Um, I guess we can start with our in-state SMU coach, Chad Morris, going to Arkansas.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people thought he was waiting out to see the A&M game, A&M job, and
Hmm.
I guess after what happened, well, we'll get to right now. After this, you'll see why. But yeah, he goes to Arkansas. It's an interesting hire. I guess it makes sense because I mean they do get a couple of recruits from Texas as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one good reason why, is that Arkansas does try to recruit the state of Texas, and Chad Morris has got good ties here, good connections here, um, good offensive mind, and Arkansas wants to get better on offense and play offense. So I think it's a good hire. I think it's a really good hire.
Yeah, yeah. It was just interesting to see because I don't know. I thought he would want to stay in Texas personally,
Yeah,
but I guess Arkansas is the closest thing to Texas.
exactly. That's my thinking too. Is that it's the closest thing. There wasn't really any good openings. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, stayed at Texas Tech, and then Jimbo Fisher goes to A&M. So not really any openings going around the state of Texas anytime soon.
Yeah, and that's another one we should get into. Jimbo Fisher. He goes to A&M for $75
Yep.
million dollars on a contract.
Wow.
Yeah, that's seven.
And A&M just wants to be on top so bad,
Yeah,
and they feel like they can throw money that they build this and build the facilities and build the stadium and pay a coach the most money, ever, that they're going to get a national championship. And man, I don't know why, but I just got a feeling this is not going to work out.
yeah. It's a big game. It's a big gamble because I mean, if this doesn't work out, then I mean, you saw what happened with Charlie Weiss, right? At
Yes.
Notre Dame. I mean, I think they just finished their last payment to him like 2 years ago or a year ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
This could be the same thing. I just feel like, you know, yes, when Jimbo Fisher was at Florida State, they got some in-state players, but that doesn't mean that he can recruit Texas. He had a good program going over there at Florida State, and a lot of national power teams outside of the state are able to poach some in-state players from time to time. But it's a different world here in Texas, and Jimbo Fisher doesn't have the roots and the relationships. So he's definitely going to have to lean on some good assistant coaches and make some good hires on his staff to help him recruit the state of Texas.
Yeah. Yes. It's so interesting now because I feel like everyone in the SEC is now a Saban assistant at one time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind
I
of like
mean,
in the NFL, how everybody is
Belichick's assistant.
uh yeah,
Yeah.
Belichick assistant.
Yeah. I mean,
So
who do we have now? We have, I mean, I feel like it's only Fisher. It was, or Les Miles played with Saban, right? Something like that.
well, yeah. So
No.
you got Jimbo Fisher, um,
No, he was with
Kirby,
Nick Saban. Yeah, at LSU.
yeah, Nick, yeah, at LSU, but Nick Saban.
Kirby
So
Smart.
who did I just say? Oh yeah, Kirby Smart, uh, an assistant coach for Nick Saban, also
Yeah.
coaching in the SEC. So yeah, you're right. Everybody wants to get that Nick Saban assistant, and now it's going to start being the Dabo Sweeney assistant coaches. You know, Chad Morris, he coached over there with Dabo Sweeney. Um, so I don't know. That's kind of the thing in college football. Steal the assistants from the big schools that are winning. I mean, look at Tom Herman, offensive coordinator for Urban Meyer. So
Yeah. And now Dan
that's kind
Mullen
of
also.
yeah, Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
So yeah, so good hire there. I mean, they got their guy. Congratulations to A&M. Me as a Longhorn fan, I'm hoping that this doesn't turn out very good for them. And I don't mean to make the A&M fans upset, but you'll understand. Me being a Longhorn fan, you'll understand that rivalry. And Jimbo Fisher even brought up the Texas A&M and Texas rivalry. If it's good for A&M, then he's good for it. So I don't know if that game will ever come back, but we'll see.
Yeah. And
Man, so
then,
here's a surprising one. Herm Edwards, Arizona State.
yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, he's in his early 60s, right?
Yeah,
And he hasn't coached in a while.
he's been out of college football for 30 years, I think they said.
Yeah.
30 years he's been
Yeah,
out of
since the
college
late
football.
1980s, he was at San Diego State, I think, or San Jose.
Yeah, assistant coach. So, but he does coach the Under Armour All-American games, so he does have that somewhat of connection to like high school kids and recruits and the recruiting process and whatnot. So, um, I don't know if that'll help him, but I just feel like if he thinks he's going to come in and just be this super motivational guy, to 18-year-old kids, I don't think that's going to work out. He needs to be able to relate to players and to young players in this new generation. It's not going to be come in and you're just going to turn all these players into fine young men, and which is good. Don't get me wrong, but if that's kind of your strategy and your selling point, come to Arizona State, I'll turn you into a good man. No, I mean, kids want to go somewhere where it's fun and have facilities and a good education and they can win some football games. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like what they want to do with this hire is kind of going like, I mean, he's going to be like a pseudo jam, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just,
a CEO.
yeah. Yeah. Just go in and then just hire some good assistants. Um,
Yeah,
help game plan with them, and hopefully one of them takes over for you in a couple of years.
yeah. So interesting hire, but definitely pretty good one there. We'll see how it turns out. So we had Willie Taggart leaving Oregon, going to Florida State. So Florida State, gets the guy that's been kind of rumored since Jimbo Fisher left, and the Oregon job is open.
Yeah, yeah, this one's surprising because he's just one and done at Oregon, and I mean he had a good year for what he started with, and then
hmm
what he lost also with Justin Herbert.
hmm
So I don't know. I feel like this hire is so questionable because you don't. I mean, you're Florida State. You don't just replace Jimbo Fisher with you know Willie Taggart, who just won, who had some good years at South Florida, and then had a decent year at Oregon.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The hire just feels questionable.
Yeah, I just feel like, who else were they going to get really, I mean, their other option, he's recruited the state before,
Yeah,
you know. He's got roots, there somewhat. Has had success, in Florida, at USF. And I think the other option they had was Charlie Strong, which at USF also, and even before at USF, before he was at Texas and at Louisville, he had coached in Florida. He's got a lot of roots there in Florida. When he was coaching at Texas, Charlie Strong, he was able to pull recruits out of the state of Florida because of his connections there. And kind of the same thing for Taggart, has some connections there too. So I think that's probably their reasoning behind it.
Yeah, so it looks like now the interim head coach for Oregon will be Mario Cristobal, their offense coordinator.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Personally, what I see happening is that I think they're gonna make him the head coach maybe for a year, and I mean they'll give him like some 2-year deal or 3-year deal, and if he's not good for a year, then they're probably gonna can him and look for someone else.
Try to get their guy next year. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so. I think that's probably what they'll do too.
yeah,
So we'll see what happens. The Tennessee job is still open,
yeah,
but they hired a new AD, right?
yeah. Philip Fulmer.
Yeah,
He was their head coach during the Peyton Manning years
yeah.
and got them a title. So
Well, I guess it's a start. I mean, they get an AD, now they got to go get a coach. I think Charlie Strong's name might come up in this one too. I mean, he was mentioned for Florida State. I don't know. I think his name could come up, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what Tennessee does, but not as attractive of a landing spot as it was in past years.
yeah, I guess
They've had some big names turn down this job.
yeah. I don't know. It feels like maybe not the fan base, maybe like the loudest of the fan base. They just feel entitled maybe, and so it's just as
Yeah,
well. So I mean, any coaching hire they won't be a fan of. I mean, being a Baylor, I know that, like when our bros came in, it was kind of questionable as well because they had just gone through Kevin Steele and Guy Morris, and
yeah,
they were promising, but didn't impress. So I mean, I guess that's just something you're gonna have to go through with every hire.
yeah. Interesting
But
to see what turns out there at Tennessee, man. We'll
yeah, they
see what
gotta
happens. We'll keep our eyes on it.
yeah they gotta act quick because it's almost recruiting. It's almost the early signing period. So
Yep, it's here in a couple weeks. So, and then we had Scott Frost going to Nebraska officially. So we knew it was coming, but it's official now.
yeah, yeah. This one they give him a 7-year deal? Not too sure, but they
Yeah, I
gave him
think
a
it
good
came out to 5 million a year. 5 million a year, which is that's about the going rate now for a Power Five, you know, head
for
coach at a reputable program. It's the minimum, 5 million.
yeah, yeah. What do you think of this hire? Like, how do you think he'll do?
I don't know, man. Like I've even said before, Nebraska is just a hard place to recruit now. I think them being out of the Big 12, hurts them because they don't get a chance to come and play a lot of the Texas teams. So they can't appease themselves or appeal themselves to Texas recruits. They don't have a lot of a lot of talent within a few hundred miles of that school, of the university. So um, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be really hard for them to recruit there. But I may be wrong. I mean, Scott Frost is a young, energetic coach. Is a very good offensive mind. So he'll probably be able to recruit some offensive talent there. Um, I definitely think it was a good hire, though. I mean, it's a perfect fit. It just turns out that the hottest young coach in the country right now is Scott Frost, and it turns out that he played college football at your university. So it was just a perfect match.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how those things work. Like with Tom Herman last year.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I don't know. I'm so questionable over this hire. Like, I mean, just how he'll do.
Hmm.
I think I don't know what is it. So I mean, really, he only has to compete with Wisconsin and what else is there? Iowa.
Yeah.
So I mean, just as long as he can like be competitive with them and go
Yeah.
and get like 7 or 8 wins in his first years, I think that'll be a success.
Oh yeah. If he wins 8 games,
Yeah,
man, I'd have been happy as a Longhorn fan to win 8 games.
yeah,
So yeah, I think definitely they'll be happy. But it's like when they had Bill or Pelini there. Pelini at Nebraska. I mean, he was winning 9 or 10 games every year,
yeah,
and they ran him off. And ever since he's been gone, they've just not been very successful. So their expectations are high there, and I think that their expectations are a little unrealistic, if you ask me.
Do you know what September 4th is?
What is it?
That's Bo Pelini Day, 9-4.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, I bet they would have taken 9-4 this year
Yeah, that's for sure.
for sure.
And then another coaching hire that we had, this is minor, but just replacing UCF's Scott Frost is going to be Josh Heupel, and he's the offense coordinator for Missouri.
Yeah,
Yeah, so Missouri has had a decent year with their offense. I mean, Drew Lock, he set an SEC record for something, not too sure, but
he's a good
so
quarterback.
yeah,
A lot of talent.
so yeah, that one just kind of makes sense. You
Yeah,
know, yeah, just get an up and coming assistant. It looks like, and that's probably not going to be his what's the name, his long term spot, but I think UCF just has to get used to that
yeah,
until they make a move into another conference, whenever one
yep,
breaks up or whatever.
definitely. I think that pretty much wraps it up when it comes to a lot of the big coaching changes. We got a couple openings, so next episode I'm sure that we'll have some more slots, some more vacancies filled. Um, Pretty good episode, Danny. I mean, we've reviewed all the championship games we had. We had the college football playoff rankings and somewhat of a brief preview of what's to come when the big bowl games come. But man, I'm already excited to do another episode to preview these exciting bowl games we got coming up.
Yeah, yeah, definitely over the next few weeks we'll be previewing the bowl games. You want to do an episode on just going over the Texas season and what
Yes,
it?
so that's going to be an upcoming episode that I'd like to do. There's a lot of attrition, transfers, recruiting. What are some of the young freshmen and redshirt freshmen, we can look forward to? What's Texas's offense, as far as starters go? What's it look like next year for offense and defense? What kind of season do we think we can have? How's recruiting turning out? Um, Definitely a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to the future of Texas.
Interesting. I think I'll have something over just going over just how Baylor's year went because I think I mean UC 1-11 and you'll be like, oh wow, that's a terrible year, but it was definitely better than I think.
The
I
record
mean,
shows.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, best 1-11 team I think in history.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just going over a little bit of the other schools just as an introduction to like maybe you're in El Paso and you want to see a game, so I think we want to go over like what UT El Paso does. Lamar, Lamar's been interesting because like they've had some good players that haven't really shined, but like in a season, but they shine in some games that just kind of makes you think. I don't know. Could they put something
yeah,
together? And
yeah.
then Houston
So
as well.
overall, good episode, Danny, and gonna be a little drought here in the next couple of weeks, but we got some good games coming up. We just gotta hang in there until the bowl games come.
Exactly.
All
That's
right.
all college
Well,
football is, just hoping for the next game.
yeah. Well, all right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Agents of College Football. This is going to wrap up this episode. Please give our stuff a like and share it with your friends. Anybody that likes college football or just sports in general, tell them to give us a shot and give our show a chance. And we appreciate everybody for listening. Until next time,
See you next week.
see ya.